Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome to the July 2024 Arena Open Day 2 Draft number 2. We have made it all the way to the end of the road in the July 2024 Arena Open. This is as far as you can get. This is the final event in the series that leads to potential cash prizes. So, we are going to be playing a single elimination best of 3 Modern Horizons 3 draft today. And we are hoping to win at least 2 of those games before we get a loss. If we can do that, then we get cash prizes. If not, then we're still up in value since we get a bunch of gems out of this event no matter what. So, very excited for this draft. Without further ado, let's just hop into it and see where the cards take us today. Alright, here we are for pack 1, pick 1. This is going to be a contentious pack, a contentious pick for sure. There is a Writhing Chrysalis, one of the best cards in the entire set. It is the highest win rate card in this pack, but we do have to specifically play 2 colors to get it, having to go red and green, whereas Emperor of Bones is a very powerful card that only requires us to be in black, so it's twice as likely we get to end up in the colors to play it. If red-green is open, though, it is like the strongest color pair. So there's still the argument for Chrysalis, plus there's a Drone, Kohler, Glimpse, Dryad, and Horrific Assault here, so it's possible to wheel something. Now, there's 2 arguments for that. One is that it's possible to wheel something, the other is that we're sending tons of signals for people to jump into green after taking a green-red card. I don't know here. Personally, I've had a lot of great success with black decks, and I'm just going to stick to it here. Grab an Emperor of Bones here, take the more open card, and end up in black and another color potentially instead of the insta-force green red. Let's see if we can force black and whatever else is open. There's no super powerful follow-up to Emperor, but Wormcoil Larva is still pretty good. I think Mica Spawn, Mandibular Kite, Repurposer, these are all enough better than Larva to maybe go for a different color, but I'm still going to take the Larva here. We are already sending massive green signals, so I'm not so sure about immediately hopping into the color right after passing all that. For pick 3, there is nothing in black here. Dryad for green ramp, Stupor for a great bounce spell in blue, Conduit Goblin for Boros. That's only pick 3, that's not much of a signal. Riddle Keeper's good, but you do have to be in blue for it. Could take Cranial Ram, try to do some Rakdos artifact stuff. The Wormcoil Larva would fit fine into there, but again, pick 3, not the biggest signal in the world towards Rakdos artifacts in particular being open. Yeah, I mean, Dryad, Goblin, Sink are my favorite 3 cards. Riddle Keeper's up there in power level. So pure power level kind of pick. It's probably actually Dryad, but again, I've passed so much green here that probably goes pretty awkward. Well, pick 4 Shadow Spinner and Serum Visionary. Kind of wish I just took the blue bounce spell. Might just be blue-black every time I draft this format. Shadow Spinner's probably enough. Better than Serum Visionary in the blue-black deck to take it here, because we're kind of locked on black. Let's grab the Shadow Spinner. Oh yeah, black is looking nice and open, and blue as well with pick 5 Serum Visionary. We can just lock in on blue-black here. Yeah, I wish I just took the bounce spell, but blue-black is just such a consistently open lane, because everyone's fighting over energy cards, and they're fighting over Eldrazi cards, and our pack 1 really made sure everyone's fighting over Eldrazi, because we passed so many Eldrazi cards there. Alright. This pack just has 2 decent Eldrazi spells and nothing else. That's certainly awkward. This could splash some green in if we get something in particular. Pick 7. This pack's just bad for everybody. I guess Glimpse is decent in Eldrazi decks, but that's it. We'll take the blue-black landscape, although Consigned to Memory is definitely some viable sideboard material against decks with a lot of Writhing Chrysalises. Just Eldrazi in general, all of them have cast triggers, so you get to counter the Eldrazi and its triggered ability. Do I take that over landscape? Just as a sideboard option? Might be wrong, but I think it's a very good sideboard option, so I will take it. So looking back on our picks, what do I currently wish I did differently? Mainly, just wish I took the blue spell over the Dryad. That's the only thing I'm really hurting for here. We did go Eldrazi right off the bat. This pack's really dry. I mean, this pack's dry for everybody. Maybe if we end up getting like a Kozilek or something, in order to actually play that in like a blue-black deck, we need some random mana rocks. Just don't think Sage is playable in blue-black at all. Okay, pick 9 Scurrilous Sentry. We're really happy to see that. A little less happy that Horrific Assault and Glimpse are still here, but if we remember, this is our pack. This pack was absolutely loaded to the brim. There were like at least 4 other good red and green cards, because there was Chrysalis, there was the 7/5, there was the Spawn Creator, I'm sure there was something else. Where I will get pretty nervous is if there's still good Eldrazi cards. Pick 10, because I don't think there was a ton. Yeah, this pack was just kind of weak in the first place. Now it's completely picked over. This landscape's almost definitely never going to get played, so I'll take Hunger Tide Rises and have one back up towards a green-black deck if we get heavily pushed in that direction somehow. And now we're just out of playables in the packs in general. Take some Shapeshifters for pretty bad filler. If we need to make playables, we can run bad filler cards to get to our 23. Alright. The end of that pack was super weak, but it would be no matter what deck we ended up in. All those cards were quite bad. We'll see how pack 2 manages to go for us. Hopefully we really get paid off for not hopping on the Chrysalis train, but we'll see. Pack 2 is the pack where if everybody that we passed to jumped onto green-red Eldrazi stuff, pack 2 would be the pack we see the most blue-black nonsense. Okay, so we opened a Wither and Bloom, and that's great. We have to take it really highly, judging by how our last draft went. We were super low on interaction. We didn't see many options to pick it up, so this will be our first removal spell in the deck. That is an incredibly valuable slot, to the point of taking it over a decent rare, or the Sentry that I do really like in this archetype. Even the Unfathomable Truths is pretty good in the archetype, but we gotta get that interaction, gotta get that removal. Pick 2, we find the Sneaky Snacker. It is a premium card for this exact archetype, and it's very unlikely to wheel. This pack is bad with a capital B. So someone's going to take Depth Defiler. That somebody's probably us, because that's a 0% chance to wheel, and it's an incredible card. But then, like, what do you take if you're red-green Eldrazi here? You don't take anything, so you just hate draft Sneaky Snacker. Why not? You know? This is why we're not going to wheel Snacker. Even if nobody else in the pot is in blue-black, there's nothing for multiple different archetypes to take here. What if you're Rakdos Artifact aggro? Well, Bloodstained Mire, I guess? Maybe that keeps the Rakdos player from hate drafting the Sneaky Snacker. But I have to just take the Depth Defiler. The card's incredible, and it's a literal 0% chance to wheel. Pick 3, we get a Sneaky Snacker here that I will happily take. It synergizes too well in the deck to pass it up, even though there's a chance that it wheels. This pack is actually strong enough that it's a tiny chance it wheels. But it's just so good with Shadow Spinner, with Scurrilous Sentry, and just dying in general to come back later, that you take that thing really highly. If I was 100% confident it would wheel, then we could absolutely go Familiar and then wheel the Snacker, but I am not that confident. Sacha is also a really, really powerful card for any energy decks. If you're red-white energy, blue-white energy, or blue-red energy, you just splash this in, and you go crazy, but we're not any of that. Okay. There's a lot of Dreamtide whales in these packs. which is super weird. I don't think it's particularly good. It just gets chump blocked by Eldrazi spawns all day long, even if you can manage to keep it around, and it's kind of hard to keep around. You need to double spell a lot. Not something blue-black is super good at, but we could build towards it. I still think Slith is probably better in a vacuum. Maybe we'll wheel like every copy of the whales, and then we can try it out. Pick 5, Lethal Throwdown is not bad in this archetype, because we can sacrifice something like a Sneaky Snacker, or if we get some Transmigrants late, we can sack a Transmigrant. I think Flare of Denial can be okay in the archetype as well if you manage to get like 3 or 4 Snackers. With just one Snacker, this is more often than not going to be just a 3-mana counterspell. It's not very good. I think we just take the removal really highly again. Let's grab a Lethal Throwdown. Pick 6, Demon Inferior is a very high pick for this archetype. You can cast it for super cheap, and it is excellent interaction. Kami of Jealous Thirst, though, is very good in the deck. We'd like 1 or 2 copies by the end of the draft, but hopefully we can find that later. Now we get a Polluted Delta, which is exactly fine. Pick 8 is nothing, but pick 8 is nothing for anybody. I guess the white player gets a mediocre removal spell, and that's it. Maybe the red player gets a mediocre combat trick if they're a red energy deck. Wield the Scurrilous Sentry. Happy to see that, but I did say we were just not going to get Snacker back. And that absolutely panned out that way. It has not returned. Unless I'm thinking 1 pack off, that's probable, honestly. My memory's pretty bad. Maybe pick 10 is where we would have wheeled the Snacker. I don't think it's coming back either way. I don't remember a Scurrilous Sentry being in the same pack as the Snacker, but maybe I just didn't notice it because there was a Snacker. Why would I look at the Sentry? This is the one that had Snacker in it, I remember for sure. But Copy Crook and Landscape are both playable cards for this deck. I actually like Copy Crook a good margin. And we really don't want to play these Shapeshifters if we can avoid it. Now we get a Kami really late, and that's actually very playable in this archetype. Happy to see that. One of the cutest Copy Crook things you can do is copy a Sentry and you get the double Connive. It's very funny. Okay, we need to find 9 Ooh, Transmigrant is such a big pickup. This card's actually great in here. Discarding it to Sentries or Shadow Spinners, sacrificing it to a Lethal Throwdown, or if we manage to get an Accursed Marauder, sacking it to that is great as well. Yeah, huge pickup. All right, Chrysalis player is going to be happy, but we're really happy to take Marauder to go with Sneaky Snacker and Transmigrant. It also goes great with Emperor Bones. You reanimate the Marauder, sack the Marauder, your opponent sacks something. So Marauder has excellent combos for this deck to where we take it over Brain Surge, which is the second best card for this deck, having excellent combos with Snacker and Kami there, while just being good card draw. Okay, pack 3, pick 2. Our artifact count is not super high at 3 right now. Chrysalis player living the actual dream. I guess we could have forced Chrysalis and we just would have had 3. Straight up. Just by being blessed by RNG, I guess. Okay, so this is really expensive, but it can be an unblockable swinger. Again, I don't think our artifact count's great for that at 3. I think Snacker's just too good for the deck. We just take Snacker. It's so much more consistently good, whereas Cannoneer might get a blowout random lethal, but Snacker's just always going to be good. Serum Visionary is going to be great here. Rule Keeper could be fine, but we're not good at getting colorless mana, so I'm going to take Visionary. Another Visionary or a Scurrilous Sentry, a Deep Analysis as well. That's going to be double draw 3 triggers. I actually like the Deep Analysis here. So our creature count is super high right now for this kind of deck. Let's get more card draw. So we have 3 pieces of removal, a bunch of creatures, and a bunch of card draw. Probably fine. I mean, that's what the deck's all about. Really, a bunch of card draw is the number 1 most important part. This basically looks like our last deck, just with less bombs, just the one Emperor, instead of the Frog and its friends. Really weak pack here. Probably on Gargantua for draw combos, although Repast could be fine. Play that over land. Yeah, Gargantua, Repast. I'm gonna go Gargantua though. Am I low enough on removal to play Utter Insignificance without colorless mana? I think I am, because the other options here are mediocre creatures. Take an Utter Insignificance. There we go, there's one colorless source. Now, once in a blue moon, I can exile something under the Utter Insignificance. Okay, so this is a full deck right here. If we don't get any more playables, we just run the Shapeshifters, and that's the deck. But we get any playables, and we're improving it. Meddler's definitely a playable. Repast is also. Really like the Meddler's impact on the game just when you cast it, so I'm going to take that over Repast. Got a Shapeshifter. Pick 9, we get a Landscape. Grim Servant's fine. Not going to have a huge devotion to black. Yeah, I'd rather just have another Landscape. Quest could be sideboard material for a really slow matchup. And I think we've just got the deck already here. Pre-built this one. I guess I could run the Quest for the Necropolis over the Shapeshifter. That might be interesting. Seems fine. Specimen. I'm kind of cool with Specimen over Shapeshifter. So when we get to higher mana values, we have a bunch of draw and discard, so we can ditch our extra lands. But we need to get to the higher mana values to be able to start drawing and discarding a lot. So I'm kind of cool with 17.5 lands thanks to Specimen as the deck. I've got some options with the Shapeshifters and mainly the Consigns of Memory being a huge sideboard piece, but an early grindy matchup. Quest gets good. Yeah. Seems like a solid deck. It's definitely weaker than our first deck. Our first deck, we were just living in Magical Christmas Land. We won the lottery on that one. But this is like a good Arena Open deck, I would say. During the Arena Open events, you're drafting with anybody who's doing a traditional draft or an Arena Open draft. But traditional draft is unpopular enough that I think a majority of the players you end up drafting with are other Arena Open drafters, so competition's much more fierce, the good playables dry up faster, and the decks tend to look a good bit weaker than normal, to where I'd be like, this is an average deck for a premier draft or a regular traditional draft. I would give it a couple extra points for an Arena Open deck. I'd say this is a little above average. It's pretty solid. It's pretty decent. Pretty good in a position like this. So, very happy with this one. It's only a tiny bit weaker than our last one. Honestly, the only thing our last one had going for it that was better than this is that we just opened up more bombs. Because outside of that, this has more interaction than our last deck. Still almost as good synergies. We don't have the double Amasser. We only have 2 Snackers instead of 3. Yeah, there's a couple different ways this is weaker than our last deck. But our last deck, again, was an anomaly. I mean, it was a 4-0 if we played perfectly. It was just the dream super smooth sailing draft the first time, so that's not going to happen often. This is still a very solid deck to end up with, and I'm still very happy with it. So we'll call it a deck here and see how far this can take us. And here we are on the play for game 1. A little bit of curving out here, Slith into Kami into Crook. Not bad at all. crack landscape on black immediately. The only thing the deck that needs colorless is utter insignificance. We only have one copy of that, so we don't need to hold colorless that desperately. So being able to have access to double black to double spell 2 black spells together later, probably gonna be relevant slightly more often. So I'm just gonna get the tap land out of the way, because we're not gonna be able to crack Seething Landscape for a long time after turn 1, because we're spending all our mana turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4. So the next time we have an opportunity to crack Landscape, it's turn 5. Probably not worth keeping around just on the off chance we hit a colorless spell at that rate, when it's going to be that long till we crack it otherwise. Playing against black-white from our opponent. Wither and Bloom the Slith, fair enough. It's our own Wither and Bloom. Just drop the Kami here. Green, white, black from opponent. Faithful Watchdog. Mind just slowing them down here. Oozewag. Copy Crook and Oozewag. I'm not going to have the mana to adapt it ever anyway. So they could just adapt theirs to a 6/6. I attack with a 5/5 Oozewag thanks to the Connive ability, and I just don't get in anyway. It's pretty rough to just not play Copy Crook at all, but at least I get to drain my opponent. Okay, so now I do have double black, and this is the last colorless source in the deck. If we hit Utter Insignificance, I'll probably keep this landscape. Yes, I mean, right now on board, the play is just trade into Oozewag and wait for something better for Copy Crook. Okay, no attacks, so we just drain. We're chilling. Lethal Throwdown, that's not very good right now. We don't have any snackers or transmogrants. At least I draw a card off of sacking the Kami, but I'm definitely not casting it right now. So now we pass and they just Zealot tap the Kami. Hit for 6. They don't have good Copy Crook targets though. I'm not super happy right now. I think the game's going slow enough. We're not supposed to just jam the Copy Crook for a blocker. Because we're still going to be at 20 here at the end of this turn. Okay. That is going to be unraceable. Lifelink to all the modified creatures. Speaking of it being unraceable, copy crooking it gives this lifelink, and then if this connives and hits a non-land, then the copy crook has lifelink as well. We have found the snacker for the lethal throwdown, so we can reanimate it if we hit a draw 3. I think the copy crook thing is pretty cute. But I'm just going to deal with the biggest threat for now. This only plays really badly if they have like the flyer that puts a counter on 2 cards. Well, got a death touch block for that, but that's a nightmare. Good copy crook target. We have found a better copy crook target. We are also never attacking with Kami again. Luckily, they only have enough energy to tap Kami one more time currently. Let's draw some creatures. We actually have like 15 in this deck, so the odds are not terrible. No lands anyway. Now I'm guaranteeing I can't use the Utter Insignificance, but it's worth another trigger. To find the card draw. Wasn't a 2-drop though. They could Wither and Bloom the Territory Color to get an 8-life swing. Then we really have to rely on hitting our card draw to win the long game, but got a lot of card draw in the deck to win the long game. If they don't get super lucky with Territory Color, and so far so good on that. Yikes, just all spells over there. Maybe... Dang, yeah. The moment I tap out of Specimen is the moment they finally have removal. It's pretty rough. And then the double Zealot here. I guess they could have been holding it. Double Zealot here is horrendous. Probably just kills us. Yeah, we might have punted out of this one. If we had Specimen up, that last turn would have been significantly less bad for us. Definitely didn't like punt out of lethal or being in a winning position or anything, but we absolutely would have been in a better position by quite a bit. Okay, this is free now. They have to top deck with 1 draw an instant or sorcery spell that targets a single target for holding up Specimen to be better here, and that feels unlikely. They have a 1 in 24. I mean, it depends how many instant sorceries they have that target things. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wait, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, shoot, we're just dead anyway. I don't have any way to not die here. God dang it. Yeah, they just have Zealot lethal because they now tap this and then attack for 11. Shoot. That's a bummer. Yeah. The 1 targeted instant or sorcery they had gets cast the 1 turn. I don't have Specimen up. Could have been them playing around a Specimen, but could have also just been drawing it at the perfect time. Yeah, I just shouldn't have cracked that landscape because we still could have cracked it for value during their end step. The reason I cracked it immediately is if we hit a 2-drop, we could instantly cast it like an Etch Slith or another Snacker or something. But it was tapping out of the specimen. And we could still cast any 2-drop the turn after we cracked the landscape. Yeah, bummer. We definitely don't auto win if we play that right, but I think the game's still going on as like a 50-50 run there. The landscape play holding up specimen would have 100% kept us in the game, and who knows where it goes from there. We don't have anything for this matchup. They don't have enough Eldrazi to want to put Consign in immediately. We don't have anything that goes great against super aggressive decks or anything like that. Yeah, just run it back and hope to draw better and play a little better. A little awkward to have the insignificance in hand and have to immediately crack this for black, but it is what it is. It's actually a good matchup for Quest from them. I still don't know if I could justify running it because we're the slower deck in this matchup. But like they know that we're just gonna sit here and dirtle for a while and they can like resurrect something from our grave against us. I'll play around like a Cursed Marauder style nonsense and just lead with the Visionary instead of the Shadow Spinner. Okay. I like both of these. I think I'd rather play another Visionary than Deep Analysis right now, and we can save Deep Analysis for when like a Snacker's in grave. So I'm gonna have a pretty full grip whether I draw 1 or 2. Hello, Repurposer. Great card. And it holds the Visionary off. Snacker Marauder it up. With Deep Analysis coming to our hand next turn, that doesn't feel bad. Don't love losing out on flying here, but we'll end up a creature in the grand scheme of things. Because the Sneaky Snacker reanimate's pretty guaranteed. Unless they want a quest for their Acropolis or Snacker out of grave just to stop that. But quest, I'm pretty sure, is sorcery speed reanimation. So they'd have to do it now. I don't really want to highlight it right now. They're just gonna pick up Snacker? Sure. Oh no, they picked up their Repurposer, never mind. Okay. Draw 2, see if we hit a black source. And I could also throw down the Repurposer just to get it out of the way, and I still have an insignificance. No black source. Okay, Emperor of Bones, the Cursed Marauder is definitely something. But no attacks this turn. We're gonna have to start just getting flying damage in. Zealot has returned. Repurposer's coming in. Copy Crook on like an Emperor Bones could be pretty nasty in the future. What do we do for now? Can lethal throw down Sack Marauder so that it's in the grave for the Emperor of Bones. Killing the Zealot so that Visionary gets to attack in for the turn, then we just play like a Shadow Spinner or Serum Visionary. Seems fine. I could also just Snacker away the Zealot, attack both, reanimate the Snacker with Deep Analysis. Still have like Utter Insignificance up. This could be wrong, but I think I just want to have Marauder in grave. Really don't mind land 6. Got a lot of stuff to mana sink towards. Springheart Nansuko. Immediately get a duplicate 3/3. It's frustrating. Card is incredible. That is an Emperor of Bones quality rare. Not arguably, maybe a little better. Okay, the Emperor of Bones reanimate Marauder is going to be pretty bad now. Because they're just going to sack the Repurposer. All flyers all day, full speed ahead. Copy Crook a Snacker. They blow removal on Snacker, we'll copy a Serum Visionary and be a little unhappy. Okay, I need to utter Insignificance before we pass turn because we can't respond to them playing a land. They get a landfall trigger if I don't utter Insignificance right now. Wither and Bloom, sure. So 2/2 no abilities. I don't think they can landfall copies either. I guess they can. If that still makes 3/3s, if that still makes 3/3s, we don't have anything we can do about that. I hope not. This is one of the few auras that doesn't actually give Enchanted Creature the ability. So they still get copies off the landfall. Oh, wow. I guess I'll go through myself. They have Nantuko and Appropriation anyway. Again, I think it probably still would have made copies. Because it's an ability on the enchantment and not the creature. But now they get to cast our own utter insignificance against us just by sacking a spawn and spending one, because they can do it off of colorless mana, because Appropriation's another incredible rare to go with the Spring Heart and Tuco. Oh no. They do only have one non-token creature now, but then they do still have... They'll have a Spring Heart and Tuco making 1/1s. Might as well attack with it, right? Because it just runs into their 3/3. Send a message. Oh, I guess it's not attacking. I'm sacking it to its own effect. What am I talking about? Now they utter insignificance our flyer. And then we stare at each other. They 100% can use this utter insignificance. I think Auto Tapper gets confused with Eldrazi spawn. So it's not telling them they can do it, but they can do it. Okay, if they don't realize they can do it, we might be fine. Like, not until they sack a spawn and have colorless floating is insignificance gonna highlight for them. So, yeah. We might be able to out-tempo them if they don't realize the insignificance play. Still gonna have 3 blockers up here. I can't hold a land and the specimen, so I won't be able to cast this anyway. I'll just cast the Slith. I have 3 blockers up. I guess I'm getting a little bit of a life pocket from the lifelink. We're gonna be at 11 now, so it won't be lethally painful to deep analysis instead of Slith. Sets up for better plays in the future. But I can just deep analysis as my first spell next turn and still cast plenty. We have 7 mana. Okay, they have seen the insignificance line now, but they still take a damage. Not get the exile there. Cool. Another watchdog. Yeah, we're certainly in the lead right now. One mana Demon Furier. Colorless in 2, they can absolutely exile the Snacker. 3/3, a 1/1, and an 0/1 on blocks. Those can definitely attack. They can only block 3 things total. Block, block, block. Is a chump attack with Shadow Spinner worth it? I'll be at 10. Can have a Skirless Sentry on blocks. I think we go big. When we're going to be at 10, we have a draw 2, discard 2. They don't have 10 power on board in the first place, and they kind of need to lose some power here. So if they somehow survive without losing any creatures, they're still going to need to kill a blocker and add extra power to the board. Especially when Slith hitting them is going to reduce their power by another 1 here. Slith actually makes the Shadow Spinner attack super tricksy. The Slith can make it so the Watchdog dies post-combat. Because it's going to take 2, but then we make it a 2/2 and it's just fully gone. Yeah, that's actually really nice. The Shadow Spinner finishes off the Watchdog here. What do you mean decline? I clicked on it. Oh, I have to click it again? Weird. Weird way for the card to work. But hey. I don't know how we won that one, but we did win it in the long run. I guess they just really ran out of steam post Appropriation Nantuko. Appropriation Nantuko was still a nightmare, though. But we broke through for enough damage in the sky. So Appropriation is a really powerful colorless spell, but it's the only colorless spell they cast this entire game. Well, that's not true. They cast 2, because they cast Repurposer as well. Consign is still definitely narrow, but we have a couple ways in our deck to like draw a card, discard a card. Discard Consign if it's just stuck on our hand, but we hit some Connive nonsense. Yeah, Gargantua feels like way too slow probably for this matchup. So we just like drop Gargantua, try Consign. We saw Wither and Bloom, Truce Appropriation, and the 3 mana shoot a creature thing that the specimen can hit, so we'll keep that in. Alright, game 3 of round 1. It is to the wire here. Our opponent's on the play. We need a black source, but the Snacker Marauder combo is incredible, and we are on the draw to try to hit it. We can still insignificance a threat for a while. 10 of our draws are black sources. 2 copies of Seething Landscape, 7 swamps, and a polluted delta, so 1 out of 3. I'm gonna keep looking for some 1 out of 3 victories at some point soon. Alright, we got it immediately. Hello, Watchdog. Probably have to just Marauder here. Although Slith fights Watchdog pretty well. Takes some damage to do that instead of Marauder. Yeah, it takes some damage to do this instead of Marauder, but it also sets up for the Snacker Marauder combo turn 4 if we can find another black source. Oh god. If we're really lucky, they missed a land drop here and they don't even get a 1/1 off Nantuko. But now we 100% need to kill Watchdog next turn. Alright, they get a 1-1. Yeah, we have to Marauder. I could double block Slith and then we kill the Springheart Nantuko. They could reanimate it with Quest later, but it just goes to the board. It's not gonna do anything great. I'll offer the Nantuko trade here. They do not accept it. Alright, see if we can't fight our way through a Springheart Nantuko again. So far, so good. It is going to get the 1-1 army, but not a 3-3 Vigilant army. Alright, that's gross. They've got a landscape to go with it for the double trigger here. Block Slith with 2 1-1s. This is 1 mana to counter their appropriation. So I can Shadow Spinner and still have that up. It feels like the play. I don't get to attack with Slith here, because they can just double block with 2 1-1s off of the landscape. We actually want them to be in Magical Christmas Land this game. We want them to have Nantuko and Appropriation, because, I mean, they already had Nantuko. If they have Appropriation as well, they probably cast it on Shadow Spinner, and then we get to consign it. Let's go. Throw your Magical Christmas Land in the garbage. Draw the double rare on us 2 games in a row. No thank you. That is so many 1-1s, and they have the Wither and Bloom for the lifelinker. And a combat trick. Jesus Christ. That does seem very good. Quest can get a dog. Shadow Spinner. It can get a Cursed Marauder, so I can't just run out Petrifying Meddler. Because they can quest for the Necropolis by Marauder, I kind of have to just Insignificance Nantuko before they untap with double landscape and get 2 more 1-1s. I have to play Snacker before I play Meddler. There's a Marauder engrave. Or I have to wait for Quest to pop off and get a dog, then we can Meddler down the dog. Or a Shadow Spinner. It's actually probably better than our dog. I had a quest on Marauder here. All I could do is play a Meddler. Or sorry, play a Snacker. Fight through both of their incredible rares. Just to die to all the 1-1s left behind anyway. Oh, and they're still top decking removals, so they don't have to pop the quest yet. Man. Yeah, game one was where we had a chance then. I think we played this game out as well as we could. And we kind of just lose because their hand was incredible. Even if we had responses for the stuff. Nantuko's just stupid. It leaves so much damage behind. Even if you do deal with it. Yeah, I play any of these cards. They reanimate a Curse Marauder and kill me. I guess Meddler I technically stay at 1 life because I stun the biggest one. Now they reanimate Marauder, kill my Meddler, hit me to 1. And that's not it. So 0-1 we're out of day 2 draft 2. Mana off from draining even. Really disappointing run. Really disappointing run. We should have been 4-0 on day 1, and that would have given us another opportunity to try to win some games towards the cash here day 2. And our first loss, had we held up the mana for the 3 mana 1/4, the game could have maybe still drawn out in our favor. Again, we'll never know how game 1 would have ended, because we did not have the material to win the game or get significantly ahead. Within the next few turns of playing a Hydroelectric Specimen. But we could have always just drawn better than our opponent in the long run and grinded out the victory there, had we had the Specimen up at the right time, instead of just immediately cracking the land for the landfall trigger. Yeah. Just one little loose line in game 1 takes away our shot at winning the round and getting to play some more Magic. Again, not a guaranteed chance. We didn't punt lethal or punt a guaranteed victory or anything, but it was a bad line. Would have worked better the other way around by a lot. And we would have had a chance of winning that game from there. Obviously, a coin flip at a victory is much better than just losing straight up. So, pretty big bummer misplay there, but the game of the whole event, honestly, is when I punted away my Sorin during draft 1. Because that was a 100% victory had we not punted away the Sorin. And we would now be at least having another chance to fight towards the prizes here. We wouldn't be kicked out right now. So yeah, those were the 2 big lines, the 2 big punts. I forgot how numbers work with Sorin in draft 1, and then draft 2. We did not hold up the Hydroelectric Specimen. I'm just so used to this card doing nothing, and it sat there for like 6 turns in a row, us holding up the mana and doing nothing with the mana anyway. So like the state of the game and just this card in general had conditioned me so much to thinking, well, this is just never going to hit anything anyway, so might as well try to hit the 2-drop creature. But it's like, well, if you hit the 2-drop creature, you can still cast it next turn anyway. It's not that big of a deal tempo-wise. The game was not going that fast. You just hold up the Specimen and crack the landscape at instant speed during your opponent's end step. I mean, that was just objectively better. But I was just so convinced this was never going to hit anything. And so, of course, the one time I'm tapped out of it is the only time it would have hit something that we've ever drawn it. All right, well, huge bummer of an ending. We don't get anywhere near the cash prizes, but we did make it all the way to day 2, draft number 2. I obviously don't love how I played, but that is the state of things the majority of the time. I really enjoy the deck building and drafting aspect of limiteds, particularly drafting. I'm not a huge fan of sealed. So that is what I really focus on and try to excel at, and I'm incredibly happy with how I drafted, with the decks that we ended up in, the archetypes we ended up in. Day 1 and day 2, I think these are the strongest decks we could have ended up in our draft pod. With 100% perfect hindsight, if I knew I was going to open 2 Chrysalis and get past 1, we could have just glued ourselves to red-green, and honestly, off of 3 Chrysali alone, probably had a comparable deck in terms of power level. But this was the safer way to draft it. It ended up with still one of the strongest decks our draft pod could possibly have given us. I think this deck is pretty great still. We just did not play it out perfectly, and that pulled away our potential chance of getting to another round. Don't know how game 1 would have went. And we also ran into some pretty fierce competition. I mean, we got double rared 2 games in a row, and if it weren't for all of the tokens left behind by the Nantuko, we could have stabilized and gotten a lead in game 3 in our second loss there. So it really was the fact that they hit Nantuko twice in a row that got us killed in that final game. The insects were absolutely pivotal in that victory. All right. Again, really happy with how I drafted. The decks we ended up with, great stuff there, but flounder a bit in the gameplay, some misplays and punts in many of the games, 2 of them being absolutely pivotal. Well, only one of them being completely game-ending, the other one taking away our chance of winning the game over the course of a ton of turns. But on the bright side, I don't know about you all, but I'm super tired of Modern Horizons 3 and I'm ready for some new stuff, and Bloomburrow is just around the corner. At the time of release, it'll be 1 week until the set releases on Arena, and that means the early access streaming event is happening right now. So there's going to be tons of early access drafts on the YouTube channel for you to check out if you're as ready for the new set, for the new season as I am. So super excited for the super cute, super adorable Bloomburrow stuff coming up. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.